Hello lovely people, welcome back to my channel, or hey if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Today I'm going to be talking about the top 10 books so far of my 2025. We're going to be going through the 10 of my favourite books that I have read so far this year. I feel like I have read so many amazing books, so it was definitely hard to narrow it down for the video, but I've tried to rank them. I feel like this isn't my final ranking, but it's gonna have to do because it's honestly taken me so long to decide what books go in what place. I have 1 to 10 books here. 1 is going to be the best book of my year so far, and 10 is going to be still one of my fave books, just the bottom of the list, if that makes sense. But yeah, we're going to run through these books because I feel like it's fun to have a little check-in, midpoint check-in of the year, and see what books are my favourite so far. This list might change completely by the other half of the year. We might have, you know, just completely different books on this list, or we might have the same, like who knows. Let me know if you have read any of the books that I speak about today. I would love to know your thoughts and feelings, and without further ado, let's get into the video and talk about these books. Okay, I did just change because I was in a t-shirt that was for another video. It was for my Summerween video, and I was chilling in a Hocus Pocus top, so I thought best get changed out of that one. In 10th place, I have Beartown by Frederick Backman. This one is such an incredible read. It is a literary fiction book, and I feel like it's honestly perfect for all readers. I think no matter what genre you prefer to read and is your favourite genre, I think that everyone can try it and probably enjoy it, to be honest. I feel like it's one of those books that will find its way to everyone, if that makes sense. Like, everyone can find something to be impacted by from this book. Beartown is a trilogy that centres around a very, very, very small town, and this town relies solely on hockey for many things, from income to getting their town back on the map, and so many jobs surround the hockey rink, everything like that. They are so reliant on the hockey teams that the town has produced. So yeah, it's kind of following that, and then we have multiple POVs from all across the town. We have from the owner of the pub to someone on the hockey team to the parents of the kids on the hockey team. We just have so many POVs, which I think is what makes this book great as well, because we're seeing the events play out from so many different perspectives. This town is divided in two after a very big event happens, and half of the town want to brush it under the rug and kind of pretend it didn't happen so that it doesn't affect the town and themselves, and the other half of the town is fighting for justice, and they really, really, really want to see the victims of this event find justice, and they don't care about the hockey team. So we're kind of seeing these two contrasting perspectives, and the town is just torn in two, and they are kind of all fighting with each other about what is going to happen and what they want to happen. And it's a very impactful book. It definitely makes you think, and it makes you see such a horrible event happen and how everyone's dealing with it. I have not read the rest of the trilogy, but I really want to get to the rest of the trilogy because I'm not sure how it's going to go, because this one kind of wraps up, honestly, it kind of just wrapped everything up. So I'm intrigued to see what the other two books are about, and if they follow the same characters or if it's just set in the same town. Who knows? But yeah, this is 10th place on my list. In 9th place, we have an Elsie Silver book, of course. We have a photo finish by Elsie Silver. Yeah, I just said that. This is the second book in the Gold Rush Ranch series. The Gold Rush Ranch series is Elsie Silver's first series. So we all know and love Chestnut Springs, but this came before Chestnut Springs, and they are loosely connected. We have a character from this series who is the Eaton brothers' sister. So it's kind of like the prologue, is that what it's called, to Chestnut Springs? But the events take place before anything in Chestnut Springs happens. So we've got 4 books in this series, I think. This is the second one. I am only up to the second one. I've not yet read the next ones in the series. This one follows Violet, who is actually the Eaton brothers' sister. She is their younger sister, I believe. And we have Cole as well. This story is such a good romance story. First of all, the Gold Rush Ranch series is different from the Chestnut Springs series because it's less cowboy-y and more horse training, like more show horses and horse racing, that type of thing. It's more like polished in terms of horses. We have two characters in this book who already know each other, but under different personas and different names, and then they kind of recognise each other and realise who they are both speaking to in person, and it's kind of like, whoa, this is awkward, what are we gonna do? And we're sort of flicking from past and present, to past when they was first messaging online, to present when they now know it's each other who they were messaging, and it's kind of forced proximity. They're both forced to be around each other, and it's kind of awkward at first, but their romance is just really, really fun, and it kind of makes you giggle. This series is great for a palate cleanser vibe. If you just read a thicker, heavier book, then I recommend this series because it's really fun and every story is really entertaining and you kind of fly through them because they're so short. In 8th place, I have Training the Heart by Paisley Hope, another small town cowboy romance. This one is the second book in the Silver Pines series. So the first one is Holding the Reins, and then this is the second one. This one follows the brother of the girl in the first book, and we have sort of a forced proximity vibe again going on here because Ivy is the new horse trainer for Wade, and they kind of are spending a lot of time together and he's a bit more reluctant to accept her, sort of grumpy sunshine. But the way that Paisley Hope writes is so bingeable, so fun, so silly, so giggly, and I would say she's the closest I've found to feeling like an Elsie Silver book. This series almost gives me the same vibes as Chestnut Springs and how much I loved Chestnut Springs, and I've kind of been trying to find that feeling for a while now. So if you're looking for an author that quenches the, that's not the right saying, that fills the Elsie Silver craving, I would recommend starting a Paisley Hope book because they're just so good. The romances are flames. I have Reckless by Lauren Roberts. This one was a 5-star for me, and I really went in with low expectations. I did not expect a lot from this book. I kind of thought that it was not going to be for me because it had such mixed opinions going around on Book Talk and BookTube, and I was just kind of like scared to start it, so I put it off for a long time, and then when I finally did start it, I was blown away. I loved this book. I couldn't put it down. I didn't feel like it was repetitive like a lot of people say. I loved the romance. I feel like every romance scene was played out how it should have been. There was so many quotes in this book that I loved. I tabbed it, and I never tab books, so that's kind of when you know that the quotes are good. I just feel like the quotes were just incredible. And the way that Lauren Roberts writes Kai and Payden is with so much funny banter, sort of like a cat and mouse vibe for this book. And the stakes are definitely heightened, but it's almost sort of still, I feel like we focus a lot more on the romance in this book than the actual like stakes of things, and it's just kind of these two arguing, but like I didn't get sick of it. Maybe I just loved the couple so much, I don't know. But I was definitely blown away by this book because I had such low expectations, but it was really good. And I need to start Fearless, but I'm waiting for the book to come out in paperback. I feel like I should have switched this one and the last one around. My bad. This one is Graveyard Shift by M.L. Rio. I read this one really recently. It's the shortest book ever. I think it's like 100 pages. And I kind of wanted to try a book that was a little bit more out of my comfort zone and that I didn't know if I would enjoy. This is the author who wrote If We Were Villains, which is definitely a book I would like to try out. This book is a gothic, eerie, creepy, mysterious novella type of thing. It's very atmospheric. It's set in a graveyard over the course of one night, and each chapter is time-stamped, so we're seeing what progress the characters have made overnight. We've got 4 people who all struggle to sleep and who are all sort of lonely in a way, and they all meet up on a night at this graveyard cemetery, and they all have completely different lives during the day, different jobs, different, just everything that they do is just so different, but they all meet up every night at this graveyard, and they're all kind of like friends but not really. It's a weird dynamic that they've got going on, and they get to the cemetery one night and there's a big hole in the ground and it looks like a grave has been dug up. So they spend the whole night trying to figure out what's going on, why this has happened, and it's just such a great book to sit down and read in one sitting. I highly recommend it for anyone who just wants a book that they don't have to dedicate too much time to, but it's still such a fun time, and the way that ML Rio writes is really beautiful in a way. Next up, I have The Favourites by Lane Fargo. This one is like a documentary style ice skater, figure skater book. This one I think is also a Wuthering Heights retelling, which is probably why I enjoyed it so much, because Wuthering Heights is my favourite classic. This book gives me very much the same vibe as a Taylor Jenkins Reid book, where you are following two characters and you genuinely are led to believe that they are real. When I finished this book, I was like, let me Google like these figure skaters real quick, let me see what they're up to right now, and then it's like, they're not real. But the way that it's written is in a way where you genuinely believe that the characters are real existing people. It's so strange. So we follow two figure skaters who we follow them from literally childhood to present day, and we're just basically going on the journey with them to fame and stardom and the Olympics, and we're following all the highs and lows of being an Olympic figure skater, the toxicity of the relationship between the two characters, and how they love each other but they're not really good for each other. It's honestly like a very messy documentary about stardom. If I could compare it, it's like the figure skating equivalent to Carrie Soto Is Back, which is one of my favourite books, so I feel like I just like a book like this. We also have chapters which are documentary style, so it's like they're interviewing real life characters from the books. That's as well why it feels so real, because it's like a documentary, and yeah, it's just so entertaining, it's so bingeable. You will definitely not be able to put this one down. Then I have From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This one is the first book in a very long fantasy series, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was fun, I thought it was fast paced, I thought the romance was good, and I feel like the world felt really developed and it felt really entertaining and intriguing. We're following Poppy, and Poppy is a maiden, which means she is sort of kept locked away her whole life. She's not allowed to speak to anyone other than the people in her house. She is not allowed to show anything other than her eyes when she goes out, and she's sort of just kind of trapped her whole adolescent life. She's just not allowed to do anything until a certain event is going to happen called the Ascension, I think, which means she will be given to the gods, and she is waiting for that to happen. And then we sort of have this love interest introduced. It's kind of like enemies to lovers vibes, but very, very minor. The romance is so good, and the world just felt really different to anything I have read before in a way. There was lots of betrayal going on. Towards the last chunk of the book, it was crazy. We had so many revelations, so much happening, and it really left on a cliffhanger for the second book, which I need to pick up immediately. In third place, I've got The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. This book is, honestly, I've read 3 Kristen Hanna books this year, and I think all 3 could take this place. I just kind of picked my favourite one, even though they're all my favourites. I love them all, but this one was just like the one that I think is higher than the other 2, slightly. This book follows a family in Alaska in 1974. We have Ernst, who has returned from Vietnam. He was a soldier in Vietnam, and he kind of came back a very, very different man to the man he was when he went to Vietnam. And he decides one day to pack up his life and take his wife and kid to Alaska to live in this sort of shack-like house and live off of the wilderness and just live in the most extreme conditions. The perspective that we're in is the 13-year-old child. I believe she's 13. We're following her perspective, and we're seeing how this massive change affects her. She's sort of uprooting her life from school. We're following her amidst her parents having not a very healthy marriage, and there's lots of domestic violence in this book, so please check trigger warnings. We're seeing that from the child's perspective and how she is suffering, and it's very, very, very impactful. And Lenny just wants to feel her parents' love, but she's just surrounded by so much toxicity, and they're not really recognising how much they're destroying their child's life amidst having to live amongst bears and extreme weather conditions. They're very, very isolated from a lot of the town. They're kind of like, to get to their house you have to really drive out, and yeah, it's just a crazy life change that Lenny is going through amidst her parents not having a good marriage. But the way that Kristen Hanna wrote this book was so emotional, so impactful, and I just feel like I love Kristen Hanna. She's my favourite author. In second place I have When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. I was putting this one off for ages. I think like a year I put this one off, and then I finally got to it, and let me tell you, it was amazing. I can't believe I put it off for so long. It's just quite detailed. It's a very detailed world, and there's quite a lot to get your head around at first, but once you've got your head around it, you're fine. I recommend watching a TikTok that explains the world first, which is what I did, and then I had such a better reading experience after that, and I kind of understood things a lot more. So definitely do that if you're a little bit nervous about how in-depth the world is. When the Moon Hatched is set in a world that is stationary, so the world doesn't move, and we have 3 sections to the world. We have the burn, the fade and the shade, and each section is completely different. We have completely different wildlife, completely different dragons, different temperatures and light. If you're from one of these sections, you have a completely different kingdom as well. I feel like I can't say much more because I don't want to spoil anything, and it's just quite complicated to explain, but just know that if you're looking for a fantasy that is going to completely change your perspective on fantasy, this is the book, because it's so different to anything I've ever read, and it was so refreshing to have such a different style of fantasy, and it just kept me on my toes the whole time. The romance was amazing. It was so romantic. The romance, like the main guy, he will do anything for the main girl. That's the kind of dynamic we've got going on, and yeah, gorgeous book. And in first place so far this year we have The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings. This book is so good, so good, so good. The way that it is written is just classic Jessa Hastings. It is just gorgeous. The romance, gorgeous. The writing style, gorgeous. Everything about it, gorgeous. We are following Georgia, who has just had news that her father has passed away, so she has to go back to her hometown for his funeral. She is very much nervous about going back to her hometown. She's not got good experiences there. She doesn't really get along with her mum, and she didn't get along with her dad. She doesn't get along with her older 2 siblings. The only person that she does have a relationship with in the family is her younger brother, who is also nervous about going back. So they're kind of navigating these feelings of being scared to be back in their hometown because they feel so judged and they feel out of place. A very traumatic event has happened to Georgia in her childhood, and it's just completely, like, she's just so detached from her family and her childhood home. Her brother brings home his AA sponsor with him. He is an alcoholic, and he brings home Sam Penny. She ends up falling for Sam because he is such a golden retriever MMC, and they just spark up this really beautiful relationship, and I just was in awe of how it was written. There were so many quotes that just were beautiful. If you loved Magnolia Parks, then you need to get on this because it was classic Jessa Hastings writing style, and it just deserves the #1 spot on my list. It was phenomenal. So those were my top 10 books of the year as of now. Maybe this will change. Maybe we'll find some more amazing 5-star books. Not all of these books were 5 stars, but majority were, and they're all my favourites. I loved them all. So like I said, let me know if you've read any of these books, or what is your top 1 book of the year so far as of June 2025. Maybe we have the same one. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye guys.